Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. As we take a look at the economy and investing, we're focusing really on the next 4 months or so and some of the issues that could affect the stock markets and the economy in that time period. I want to bring up something that just because, Carrie, you mentioned the possibility of a recession. Kim, I'm going to go back to you. Several weeks ago, you said that you thought the recession had already hit. Do you still feel that way?
I do. I do. I think it's been a rolling recession through different industries. And this is just such a dark age. Or not a dark age. We've had so much weird stuff happen in markets that we've kind of forgotten the recent past, right? And we had 2 negative GDP prints at the beginning of 2022. And somehow we forgot about that. And typically that has always signaled a recession. And we were told, oh no, it's not a recession because I can't remember which government bureau gets to do that, but it's not the Fed, and maybe it's the Bureau of Labor. Yeah. Anyhow, but I think that started it. And that was probably more about the supply chain not coming up to speed. But there has been a very slow reboot of the economy. And I do think that the classic where we're going along, we're having a great time, the economy feels like it's firing on all cylinders, something happens, not a crisis, but just too much inventory. Remember, we were told that in Econ 101. I think those days are gone because companies really do understand what their pipeline is and understand what their supply is. So they moderate that with incredible efficiency now. But I do think that there's slowdowns, and you could call that a recession. When you're not getting as much money into your family or your business, it's a recession. So I think that rolls through the economy now, and we can see that happen in regions and in industries.
Anybody want to?
I actually look at it a little bit differently. I don't think that we've seen that recession yet by traditional standards, where the employment numbers have really kept things going. And I think until we actually start to see some sort of breakdown with employment, it's hard to really see a typical recession hit, a recession where the Fed has to step in and lower rates, and we've actually seen valuations come back down. So I'm still, kind of sitting on the edge of my seat with that. We are seeing some dynamics change. Michael pointed out that, the unemployment rate ticked up. There are reasons for that. But when you look at the broader measure of unemployment, the U6 number, which takes in some other factors, we saw a pretty nice jump in that last Friday. It went from 6.7% to 7.1%. So it's something to keep our eyes on. And when we look at the amount of hiring that's happening and the need the corporations have, that tide is changing. There was an article out there last week. Some of you may have seen it. It was, a year ago, it was about people quiet quitting. Now it's about quiet firing, where companies are restructuring, lowering compensation because they've managed to figure out how to get by. Some of that may be technology. Some of it may be just having to reduce costs.
I think that some of the root to that, Carrie, is the work from home thing. They pretty much determined that working from home is not good for the corporation. People are less productive when they're home. So since people are resisting coming back to the office or the workplace, they're saying, well, if you want to stay at home, you're going to get paid less because you're going to be doing less. And we all know that we've called service people who are working from home, and we hear the baby in the background, or they're out in the park walking their dog or whatever it is. And, with that being said, as corporations, if we had a slowdown in employment, as maybe we're starting to see. I doubt it because I just don't think there's enough people. All right. I mean, so I think that the auto workers, if they wanted to, I hear they're going to get they're asking for $66 an hour. I think I read in this morning's paper. Total. That's all in. That's benefits. That's everything. And if they get that, they're not going to go take another job because that's a pretty good job for a factory worker. And I think, and I mean, I think that factors into about $130,000 a year of cost. And say they were getting 100 of it. I don't know. I haven't seen those numbers. That's a reasonable pay for taking no risk in life other than going to work, whatever the risk entails of being at the job. And so that being said, I just don't see us having an employment problem unless we had a severe recession. And 5 or 6% interest rates isn't going to create a severe recession. Quite frankly, that's what money ought to be worth. And to me, interest rates are pretty much at a normal rate. They're far from what I would consider high at all. If they got up to 8 or 9, maybe we'd start seeing a recession then.
Okay, Michael, we got about a minute left. You want to wrap it up for us?
Sure. I agree with a lot of what Frank said there. When you look at the work from home, I do think anecdotally productivity's probably gone down. As Kerry mentioned, unemployment rate sort of ticking up a little bit there. Frank said that the rates might be normalized at this level from a historical standpoint, but the pace at which they went up there is very drastic, and it takes a while for that to work its way through. So when I kind of look at the big picture, Stacy, the risks to me are asymmetrically disposed to the downside rather than the upside. That doesn't mean you sell out and go to cash. It just means I think you want to be a little bit more defensively positioned in your portfolios for the next 4 to 5 months or so.
All right, that's a topic we, of course, will continue to discuss as this program goes on through the next several months and years, I hope. We have to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.